And when we choose to give in to fear, it lowers our vibration, and we cannot admit as much light into the world, to other people, to these portals and vortexes to help amplify and raise the vibration of the planet. And that is how the darkness starts to win, by influencing us and us deciding to dim our light and lower our frequency.
So find a way
Hello, beautiful beings of light. My name is Monica. Welcome or welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about what is a light worker, what is our main mission here on Earth as a light worker, and why there is so much darkness in the world, and basically why there needs to be darkness as well as light. So before we get into this discussion, I felt called to bring my singing bowl today, which I haven't been using much lately, but I felt very drawn to it, and I felt like I wanted to start with this before we get into the conversation, just to kind of get all of our energy synchronized. Even though I feel like my energy is pretty grounded right now, this is just another tool to help, I think, ground. So you can close your eyes if you want for a few seconds and just soak in the sound. I know the quality isn't going to be the same or as potent as if it was in person, but I believe it will still have a pretty good grounding effect either way. So. Okay, so today's video is going to be probably the most esoteric video I have made to date. This one's going to be out there for some people, but I really feel that this is the message I want to share today. And just a little background of how I got this information. Yesterday is when I had the download. It was 8/8, and it was the Lionsgate portal. And I took the whole day to really kind of like celebrate it. It was almost like a holiday. I watched quite a few videos of my favorite spiritual teachers and astrologers and found out their take on what it is and what it means. And then, because I'm still new to this stuff, okay? I'm still new. I'm just starting to dive into numerology. I bought a book on that I'm reading called Your Cosmic Code. And I am just now starting to understand, I think, the basics of astrology, the foundation of it, which is so exciting for me because it's always been a mystery. So I was pretty excited about this portal since I feel like it's starting to click for me. And so I watched a few videos that were longer videos, like 45 minutes to an hour. And then I also talked to a friend, my best friend, for like, I don't know, 4.5 hours. We were talking about this amazing documentary that she sent me that is just mind-blowing, and other things as well. And then I ended the day with a ceremony. It was a new moon / 8/8 portal ceremony with my dear friend Riss from All My Ancestors. I've mentioned her before and we've collaborated before, and she is a professional astrologist and she does readings, so she really helps to bridge the gaps for me as well. So it was an incredible day. And while I was watching one of the videos, I was watching probably one of my favorite spiritual teachers, and that is Elizabeth April. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned her on the channel before. I've learned so much from her, and she channels a lot of information. She can tap into energy, and while I was watching her video yesterday that was specifically for the Lionsgate portal, something she said just like set off a light bulb in my mind, and it just really explains so much. And she said that she began the video saying that she's not a numerologist, she's not an astrologist. So she would tap into the energy and see what information she could get about what the Lionsgate portal is about. And I resonated so much with what she said. I hadn't heard it that way before. And what she said basically was along the lines of, there are giant portals and vortexes all over the earth. And from what I understand, there's something called ley lines of energy that cross and intersect all over the planet. And all of these have different energies and frequencies. And I've heard someone explain it to me who knew a lot about it, that with ley lines, there were a lot of people who have told him in the past that when they lived in one place, let's say one country, they felt very stifled in their creativity. Maybe they were a painter or a writer or a poet. But as soon as they moved to another, let's say, country, they didn't feel stifled anymore. They felt like their creative energy had opened up. And he explained that was basically because of the ley lines. There's certain places on the planet where we just feel more ourselves, more creative, more expressive than we do in certain other parts. And it's because of the energy and the vibrations of that area. So what Elizabeth April, or EA as we call her, was saying is that these giant portals where there are big landmarks. She didn't say which, but I'm assuming it's probably along the lines of like the Great Pyramids or the pyramids in Egypt, that our ancestors had placed these giant monuments, like the 7 wonders of the world, in these certain places because of the energy vortexes and portals that were in that specific area. So it marked that area. And so I don't know how many there are. I don't know all the details about it, but that there's these giant portals. And during 8/8, something with the alignment of Sirius, I couldn't explain all that to you, but it creates this energy where it activates all of these portals and vortexes. And that just activated a huge download for me that I channeled, that I ended up just writing as I was channeling it, which typically I don't ever write anything down or just write little notes, but I wrote a whole thing as it was coming to me. And it just felt incredible. I mean, I feel so activated with all the energy of the planet that is going on with what's going on with the stars and all of that. I mean, there's something definitely shifting in me that is bringing a lot of clarity and a lot of things to light. So this is what I want to share. First, I want to preface this by saying I kept having this synchronicity of seeing pictures and hearing people say yin and yang. I have never looked into what yin and yang means or anything. Like, I've seen the symbol. I remember in the 90s when I was growing up, it was huge. It was like on all jewelry, and I probably had a necklace or something with it, but I didn't know what it meant. So I asked the universe and my spirit guides. I was like, can you, like, what does this symbol mean? I just like tapped into it. Like, why do I keep seeing this yin and yang? What does it mean? And then this is what came to me. Okay. And some of this I've heard before, but it didn't really click until now. So how I understand it with Lightworkers. And if you were wondering, am I a Lightworker? If you're watching this video, you most likely are. And if you resonate with anything I say that you feel to be true, even though you don't know how it's true, then that's a pretty good indication. And then still, if you're not sure, like I was, I recommend asking the universe, like setting the intention to get signs or synchronicities to confirm that you're a light worker. And that's something I ended up doing because I don't know, I think I've said in one video before that the way I came up with this name for this channel, Lightworker Monica, I had a different name in mind in the beginning, which I don't remember what it was. But as I was going to literally type in the box the channel name for YouTube, the name Lightworker Monica just came up out of nowhere. And I was like, I don't really necessarily know exactly what that means. I've heard the term before. I've kind of heard it explained. I don't really know, but I'm going to go with it. So I just went with my intuition and put it. And over time, I've been discovering more what that means. So this was pretty exciting for me. I have a notepad. So if you see me looking down, I'm reading my notes, like almost exactly what I wrote yesterday. So each light worker is stationed in different parts of the world to literally anchor in the light within that area. So many times I've discovered that light workers, including myself, tend to feel extremely alone at certain times in their life. That like no one understands them. They don't really understand other people. They don't quite feel at home. They feel a little bit out of place. And they're looking for that soul connection with others and for what feels like home. But the reason why we're so spread out and apart around the planet is, I believe, take it or leave it, this is what I channeled, that it has to do with these portals and vortexes. Because again, I don't know how many there are. What I can figure is there's just a lot, like, I don't know, thousands of them, maybe hundreds of thousands, and they're literally everywhere. So like no matter who you are or where you are, you're somewhere within the vicinity of a portal or energy vortex. So we have to anchor in the light at different areas of the planet, because if we were all together, it wouldn't be as helpful than if we were all spread out and spreading light in different areas, in different countries, different states, different, just everything, right? What I also got was Earth needs light and darkness to be balanced. So I'm going to give an example that I wrote down about Star Wars. I am not like a huge Star Wars fan. I've watched pretty much all of them and I thought they were kind of cool, but I didn't get the hype about it, why everybody was so excited and like super diehard fans. I didn't even understand the premise of the series or the trilogies until my husband tried to explain it to me the other day, and I kind of got it, but I didn't fully get it until now. And so what he explained to me was that Anakin Skywalker was the chosen one who fulfilled the prophecy of bringing balance to the Force. So even though he became quote unquote bad or evil, he fulfilled his role in the prophecy. Because at that time, like, the light and the dark in the world or in the universe was out of balance, because the light, like the Jedi and all those people, had, I'm just going to use a percentage. Okay, let's just say at that time there was 80% of light coming from the people and from the Jedis and from everyone who's trying to bring the truth about and like be quote unquote good. And then the dark side only had 20% that was filled with, I can't remember all the names or terms for the characters, but like whatever, like Darth Vader is, and forgive me, I can't think of the names. The opposite of the Jedi. So the universe was out of balance because there was too much light and not enough dark. And when Darth Vader came, he brought way more darkness to the galaxies by joining the dark side. And then it brought the dark and the light back into balance. I can't believe I finally understand that now. And I'm actually getting chills as I'm explaining this, because it's so relevant to this, to real life, to what's happening now in the 3D physical world. And like I've said before, movies and TV shows, there's a lot of hidden truth in plain sight. They will give us half-truths or partial truths and then try to make it seem like it's all this crazy fiction fantasy that could never happen, and it's just all made up fairy tales. So when people do start to awaken, they start to question, they start to put the pieces together and see the patterns, and they try to explain that to people who haven't expanded their consciousness to that level. They'll look at them and be like, that's crazy, man. That's just a movie. That's sci-fi. That's not real. And it's like, there is some real truth to it. They're telling us the truth through certain stories in entertainment. And so what's happening right now on the planet, and what's been happening for a long time, we just entered a new age. So we left the age of Pisces. We're in the age of Aquarius, and I think it's like every 2,160 years or something like that. And I don't want to get too into this, but there's a shift in the planet when we go into a different zodiac sign. And when that happens, pretty much everything that has been in the dark, meaning information and truth that has been hidden, starts to come to light as the planet itself ascends. Because it's not just us as people who are ascending through the different dimensions of start with 3D and then maybe go to 4D and then 5D, or 3D and 5, you can shift back and forth. The earth itself is an energy that also ascends through over time as we level up our consciousness. And as it does that, it also helps us to have access to easier access to energies to help us level up our vibration and ascend to higher dimensions as well. And I realize as I'm saying this, it might sound a little complex, or, to me it makes sense because I've been studying this for a while and it resonates. But if you don't understand that consciously, there might be a part of your soul that understands it subconsciously, even if it doesn't quite make sense. And maybe you'll get information later on that'll just click as well, because that's what happened for me. So as I was saying, the darkness, the powers that be who have hidden so much of the truth from the people. And I'm talking like, basically when I had my awakening, I started understanding that everything we've been taught was either a lie, or it was only a half truth, or it had crumbs of the truth sprinkled on. And that's why a lot of things in the world didn't resonate with me or make sense, even when someone tried to explain it. And I say that on massive scales, like we've been lied to about who we are, what we are, why we're here, and what we're on. And yes, I'm going to admit, I believe in the flat earth theory. I have done hours and hours and hours of extensive research on that. And one of the major things is we're so indoctrinated from birth. Like, I think when we're children, we're awake, we're aware, we're conscious, we're seeing things, we're asking questions. And then as we're indoctrinated with so many things in society, including education, we're taught not to ask questions, to just get information that we're told is supposedly right, and just accept that that's right. And when I was talking to my friend, one of the major things that came up was, well, if they're telling us, if scientists say that water doesn't curve, it takes the shape of whatever container it's in.
Take the water bordering our horizon, for instance. It is the natural physics of water to find and maintain a level. And it just so happens that that level is flat. If Earth was a spherical ball, water would not maintain such consistent flat levels. We are used to water doing this and this, but we have never in all our lives on Earth witnessed with our own eyes water do this. Water does not bend. It's not called sea level for nothing, you know. And if water did not always find a flat level, then why would we use tools such as this to achieve accuracy? Again, water does not bend. Rivers, for instance, always run down to sea level. If Earth was a rotating ball, then inevitably many rivers on Earth would, at some point in their journey, have to flow uphill. As Eric DeBay points out, the Mississippi is 3,000 miles long, which means it would need to run uphill for 11 miles on a globular Earth. He also points out that a portion of the Nile runs for 1,000 miles with a fall of only 1 foot. Again, if the Earth was a spherical ball, this would be impossible.
I know there's a whole thing with gravity, and this is like too complex to get into. Anyways, that's just something to think about. If you haven't done your research on flat Earth, there's lots of documentaries. I recommend ODD TV. He's amazing. So anyways, yeah. Anyways, we've been lied to so much. It's actually kind of incredible. So back to my point is the darkness, the dark powers that be have been in control for way too long. Like, I don't know exactly if it's been like the last 2,000 years or longer. But as we ascend, as everything's changing in the planets and in the universe in general, eventually, after the time period is up, everything comes to light. It just has to. Because the planet will always shift into balance. And that means that I don't know if it's going to be exact percentages, but there needs to be more of a balance of, like, let's just say 50% of darkness and 50% of light. So I believe that as Lightworkers, we were, let's say, hanging out and chilling at source frequency, which is beyond the planet and beyond like a lot of things, wherever it is, source frequency. And maybe we weren't in a physical body. We were more just beings of consciousness, of light, more like ethereal. And we saw what was happening on Earth here. And we decided to go on a mission to help bring the planet back into balance and to help fight this, what I call spiritual war, World War III, the war on consciousness that's happening right now. It's not a physical war. We decided to come down here and do the whole Earth thing, be born, get indoctrinated, do all these things, so that one day we knew we would awaken at the right time. And the information would come back to us about what's really going on, so that we can bring light to the darkness, meaning the hidden truth of this reality. So that's why Lightworkers tend to dive deep into very dark subjects. Like, for instance, me and my friend, we used to watch a lot of, like, not quite, like, I didn't watch CSI, but like I used to like the show Bones, and like I'd like to see justice come about and like to see kind of like what all goes on there, and learn about things that may be uncomfortable to learn about. I've read some books on some very personal experiences of people in MK Ultra that is just completely heartbreaking on so many levels. It was the hardest thing I've ever read, and it's profoundly affected me since. But I felt I needed to know the truth of what was happening behind the scenes of the illusion of this show, this reality show that we're being shown. Because I have more faith in individual people sharing their experiences than I do on the mass media scale that can definitely have an agenda to control the narrative of what they want you to think, and they discredit these people who've had these experiences. And I don't think that's fair. Another thing is, I've realized that I do a lot of shadow work, meaning that all of us have light and shadow within us, and the light is more the conscious that we're aware of, and then the shadows are the subconscious, like beliefs and programmings that we're not consciously aware of, that affect us every day and it gets triggered at certain times. So what I innately do without even realizing it is I'll keep having like a memory, for instance, that keeps surfacing. And I don't understand what it's trying to tell me, but it's an uncomfortable memory. And then when I finally stop resisting it and I tap into it and I'm like, okay, what is this trying to tell me? Why am I feeling this way again? Or, you know, why am I going back into this? I don't want to. It's uncomfortable. And then I have a realization about some subconscious belief I have that I didn't realize I have because of something that happened like in my childhood that I didn't quite remember. And I think a lot of what light workers have that too. They do a lot of inner work and personal development and shadow work without even maybe realizing that's what they were doing. So that is I believe our main mission, is to bring the hidden truth that's in the dark to light, to help awaken people so that they can free themselves from being slaves to the matrix illusion reality that's being projected on all of us. And we are part of the spiritual war that is on the side of light, trying to bring balance because there's too much darkness, too much hidden, too much shadow on the planet. And another thing I wrote down was darkness or shadow is not good or bad. It just is. I believe we've all had lifetimes where you could consider us a light figure or a dark figure, where we're good or we're bad. That's what we're labeled. We've had past lifetimes where we are the abused, but we are also the abusers in different lifetimes. Light is not good or bad. It also just is. Just like the example with the yin and yang, there is a speck of white on the black side and a speck of black within the white side. Because not everything is all black or white, good or bad. We do live in a dualistic reality where we do have both counterparts that are opposite that we can mirror to each other. And it's also the same with people. Like we all have, like I said before, shadow aspects and light aspects. We're not just one or the other. There's light within the dark, there's dark within the light. So no one is good or bad, they just are. And I know this may be difficult to understand. I want to say, I'm not saying or condoning that it's okay to be violent or to hurt people or take advantage of people. That is not what I'm saying at all. However, to explain this a little bit further, I know there are a lot of people who question, if there's a God, why would he let so many bad things happen on the planet? Why are there floods? Why are there famine? Why are there wars? Why are people dying and getting sick? And because of that, I know some people who have stopped believing in God or a higher source altogether. Because they were like, if there was truly a God, they would not have let, my parent or somebody pass away when I was so young. And this is something I haven't really questioned before now, about why do dark things or bad things happen necessarily, but this got me thinking about it. I've also heard about this being a concept in the book The Law of One that someone recommended to me. I have not read that yet. It is on my my reading list that I will get to eventually, but I just wanted to also mention that. So what I believe the reason why we have darkness is we must have darkness as well as light, because without darkness you wouldn't know what light is, and without light you wouldn't know what darkness is. For example, how could you fully understand the color black if the color white didn't exist for the comparison, and vice versa? You could compare, white to other colors or black to other colors, but I don't know the whole explanation behind like how colors and spectrums work, but black and white are like the complete opposites. They contrast each other. And another example I'll give of that, a personal example, is it's like I didn't really understand what a healthy, functional, loving relationship was until I had the opposite of that. I had a very unhealthy, dysfunctional, conditional love or maybe even lust relationship before I met my husband, who was like the complete opposite. And it made me appreciate him so much more because I already understood what the opposite of that was. So I believe that as souls, we incarnate here and we pick beforehand in our soul contracts what lessons we want to experience to help us expand our consciousness. And that can be a whole nother subject I can go into. But so basically, the lessons aren't labeled good or bad. I think that's a 3D human concept that was created. But our soul knows that we need to experience everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, in order to grow. And I believe it's not what happens to us, it's how we respond to what's happening to us. Bad news is also good news in disguise. And you could say good news is also bad news in disguise. There's pros and cons to every single thing. It's not all black and white. There is some shades of gray in there. And a lot of times we get so upset by this, what we feel is bad news, and it's okay to feel how you feel, but we miss finding that silver lining of why that happened. I don't believe it's not just to punish us because we were bad people, because we made a mistake. It's actually helping to further benefit us in some way. And a lot of times it's not until we look back on some certain events that happened to us and then we go, oh man, I'm actually grateful for that experience because this thing happened, or I met this person, or it helped me follow my dreams. So if we always remember that, at least in the back of our mind, again, nothing is actually good or bad. It just is for the experience. And one thing I'm not entirely sure about, like when I believe at this point that everything will come to light that's been hidden about, like I said, who we are, where we are, why we're here, what we're living on. I don't know what happens to the dark powers that be to bring everything into balance. But let's just say they get kicked off the planet or they go to jail. I don't know, just something to where they can't keeping people in the dark forever. There will still be some element of darkness or shadow. Again, maybe that 50-50 yin and yang. But it may be more in the form of, like I said, how I do shadow work, in the sense of we're born, we go through these experiences, we have these subconscious beliefs. Maybe someone said or did something to us that we took a certain way that wasn't their intention, that formed this belief that we carry on into adulthood. And then once we start to feel into that and tap into it, and we shine a light on that thing, that belief, then we can work through it and go, oh, wow, okay, I see how that's affecting me, and I don't think that belief is serving me anymore, so I've decided to let it go. But you can't let it go until you recognize it, you become conscious or aware of it. And that, again, is not good or bad. It just is. So I also wrote down, everyone must experience pain and pleasure. Emotions aren't good or bad, they just are. We have to experience the high vibrational emotions as well as the low vibrational emotions to understand the full range. So with that being said, there's really no need to judge ourselves or punish ourselves as good or bad. We simply are. Every light and shadow aspect that we have are equally as beautiful. And I believe once we learn to embrace our shadow aspects that we're not aware of and don't judge them as bad, or that we're bad people because we did something that we didn't understand why we were doing because it was a subconscious belief. Once you see that to be as beautiful of a learning process as what you consider good or light, it's going to release a lot of guilt, a lot of shame. It's going to help you to fully love and embrace yourself, your unique self as you are. Unconditional self-love. And I believe, and that will help us to be kinder to ourselves. All right, so I kind of went off on a tangent and skipped a few parts I'm going to go back to that I wrote down. So 8-8, the Lion's Portal was, like I said, it was super active, which means also that the veil between the physical and the astral becomes thinner. And one way that I've noticed that is, and I mentioned this in another video, that I have constant ringing in my ears. And it's not regular tinnitus or tinnitus, however it's pronounced, because I went to an ear, nose, and throat doctor to make sure it wasn't a physical thing. And they said my hearing and my ears, everything's perfect. Like, not even wax buildup. So I had a session with a person who works in the angel realm who gave me the metaphysical reasoning behind why it was happening. And I also found out that that typically means that you're a medium and that psychic ability is being activated. So 24/7 I hear ringing, and not just ringing, but I hear singing. And it's or not even singing, maybe more of like vocalizing or angelic music is how I would describe it. And I hear it all the time, but like I'm hearing it right now. There are certain times where it becomes louder and certain times where it becomes quieter that I won't even notice it sometimes for like days or weeks on end. But since yesterday, I think even the day before yesterday, it's been super loud. So I know that means that the veil was thinner between the physical and the astral, so that I am more connected with them on a vibrational level, even through all the dense, heavy energy of the third dimension. And I want to end this video with also relating back to my previous video that was titled, Please Stop Feeding the Matrix with Polarity. And I truly feel it's crucial as light workers that we do not feed into the false matrix illusion with our fear, because this dims our light and feeds into the darkness. So I'm going to try to explain this how I kind of saw it in my head. So like I said before at the beginning, we're all emitting this powerful light. We are a lot of times diving into dark subjects, dark things, hidden truths, and we are bringing those to light and sharing them with people in all different ways. It doesn't even have to be in the spiritual field per se, like you can do other jobs and still be emitting that light. And it's something that affects people around us without us maybe even realizing that it does. I mean, we all affect each other. We all have different energy and toroidal magnetic fields and energy and stuff that expands outside of our body. And people can pick up on that energy right away. I don't know what it is exactly about light workers, but because that is our mission, our light shines, I think, very bright. And we're stationed all over the world. And again, with the portals and the vortexes, whatever it is that we individually are projecting with our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and also as a collective consciousness, this energy gets fed into these portals and vortexes, and it amplifies the frequency. And that is what creates the reality that we see in front of us. That's how we manifest and co-create our reality together. So if the mainstream news wants to push a certain agenda and they need our consent, okay, God, I'm trying not to make this too long, but there's a lot to explain with this. Let me see if I can break it down into easier terms. The archons, the inorganic beings that essentially rule the earth, they can't manifest the way that we do. They can create with technology. They just can't manifest and create the way that we do. They don't have that same imagination and the same characteristics that we have as humans that make us unique in that ability. And they have a very low frequency, and to be able to stay on the planet, they have to keep the frequency very low, and fear is one of the lowest frequencies. And so they can have an agenda that they spew to the media, that spews to other people, where they will create a fake problem, or they will try to make a problem seem worse than it actually is. And then they spew that narrative, and then the mass majority, or a mass majority of people, see it, feed into it, believe it, start being fearful, and then they project that fear all over the planet, which also goes into these portals and vortexes, and it amplifies. And a lot more people are in fear. Maybe people who aren't consciously fearful, but they're feeling that energy on the planet without even realizing what it is that they're feeling, that it's not their own. So it is extremely crucial for light workers to not get sucked into the fear, the projected fear, the false evidence appearing real. We may have our own personal fears about, I don't know, what could happen in our own life, which is something that we all individually have to work through. And that's fine. Like I said, no emotion is good or bad. We just have to experience it all. So I hope that people aren't choosing to feel bad, because this is what I'm saying. If they're in a place that's lower, if they're like depressed or something like that, that's fine. Like, feel what you need to feel and have the experiences you need to experience. I'm just suggesting to not take on the fear of the collective conscious through the media, mainstream media, or alternative news. You can be aware, but you don't have to be in fear. And that is a choice, to be in fear or not. Because we are light warriors. We are here to fight this fight, this World War III and the spiritual warfare. Our weapons, though, are not typical weapons of war. We don't have guns. We don't need that sort of things. We don't need ammo like that. Our weapons are simply our vibration, our soul, our heart, our frequency, our love and light, our whole entire energy, us, our being, our beingness. And when we choose to give into fear, it lowers our vibration, and we cannot admit as much light into the world, to other people, to these portals and vortexes, to help amplify and raise the vibration of the planet. And that is how the darkness starts to win, by influencing us and us deciding to dim our light and lower our frequency. So the best advice I have that any light worker could do, and this is not just light workers, this is anybody, this is all helpful for everybody, but especially light workers, is to be with yourself. Be there for yourself. Take care of yourself. Even if you're not on YouTube, even if you're not teaching, even if you're not going to seminars, you still are fulfilling the mission of a light worker by just being who you truly are, and admitting the highest frequency, like anchoring into the highest frequency available to you during each moment. And we can't help others, and we can't lift our vibration if we're trying to help everybody else, but we're not giving ourselves enough self-care and attention. You have to put your oxygen mask on first before you help someone else with theirs. And this is something I have done a lot. I have been in so many situations where I have just given so much of my energy to other people to try to help them. I was depleted. And I wasn't as efficiently using my energy to help people because I wasn't helping myself first and raising my frequency and doing my own shadow work and inner work and personal development. And every light worker's path is a different path. We don't all need to be doing the same things. We don't all need to be working the same jobs or in the same fields. We don't all need to be doing what I'm doing here on YouTube. There's different ways that it's expressed. Like I said, even just by being you, just by walking into a store, you're doing light work. Keeping your frequency high and beaming that light to other people. So remember that the best way to help others, to sum this up, is to help yourself and to raise your frequency. And that already energetically raises the frequency of the planet. And then if and when you feel called to do something physical or take some physical action to spread your truth, your awareness, your love, then you can do that fully in your purpose and your full power. Please don't give into the darkness. And it's okay if you do at times, but please keep working on being aware of it. The very, very last thing I want to share also is that if you're tired a lot, especially here in the physical realm, it probably has one of the factors of that probably is you're doing a lot of light work in the astral realm when you go to sleep as well. And this is something I heard that resonated, and then I have started to pay attention to my dreams. I have a dream journal now where every day, not every day, but most days when I remember my dreams, which is most of the time, I'll write down whatever I can remember. Because we have a series of dreams typically throughout the night, and maybe you just remember one element of it, or maybe you remember a lot of details. So I'll just write down whatever I can remember from however many dreams, even if it's just one dream. And I've noticed that there has been a theme sometimes where I'm dreaming and I'm just in a dark room or a dark field, or I just can't see anything, and it's kind of scary. And then all of a sudden, I remember this one particular dream, I had a light weapon of a light ball. I don't know it was just a ball of light. And I was like feeling like a full warrior in this, and I don't know exactly what was happening, but there was darkness, and I was taking the light along with other people, and I was just throwing them at the darkness and lighting everything up. Which to my logical mind doesn't make sense when I wake up and I'm like, what is that? But now that I'm starting to understand my mission and what light work is and what the purpose is, it just makes more sense. It's like, oh, I have light weapons, like actual physical light weapons in the astral realm that I'm working with, and that a lot of light workers work with from what I found in my research. So anyways, I know this video ends up, I don't know how long it's going to be after I edit, but right now we're almost at an hour. But this information just felt really important that I wanted to share, and I wanted to be very detailed and thorough because there are a lot of components to this, and I know I can't fit all of the information in this one video, and maybe not everyone's gonna want to watch it because it's so long, but those who the message is for, I think will stick until the end. So if that is you, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your light. Thank you for awakening. You are appreciated. Light work is typically something that's not recognized in the mainstream community. It just seems all woo-woo and fluff. And so we don't get recognized for it. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of energy work that can be daunting and that can be draining. And but anyways, thank you anyways. It's all worth it. It's all worth it for the expansion of our soul, I believe, and for bringing balance to the darkness and that yin and yang. Okay, that is my video for today. Let me know what you think, or if you have any questions in the comments below. Even if it's just like, whoa, Monica, that's out there, I don't agree with that. That's fine. Do your thing. Like, it's your personal journey. I'm not telling you how to do your thing. I'm just telling you how I'm doing my thing and sharing. So anyways, sending you guys lots of love, and I will see you hopefully in the next video. Take care, everyone.